Hello. Thank you so much for being here. We are very excited to be having Kevin Hines on our campus. I'm going to do a very short introduction because we have a video that we're going to be watching, but I think, unfortunately, in this day and age, suicide awareness and prevention has become very important, that we, especially you, as first responders, have a good understanding of different perspectives of how this really impacts people. And the people that you'll be working with when you go into as a first responder, what works well, what are some challenges, and just things to be aware of. So we're very thrilled that you are here today. The session is scheduled to go until about noon. We will have a chance to do some Q&A, so please join in when those opportunities do come up.
Are you okay? Is something wrong? Or can I help you? Those were the words that I desperately wanted to hear right before I catapulted myself over the rail. I have now lived 15 years past the day I should have died.
When you see a lot of mental illness being expressed, that's a clue that the culture is sick, not the person.
Hey, brother.
Hello, Kevin.
You were the first person to ever say, Kevin, we should talk about this.
I guess Kevin Hines, plummeted 200 feet but survived.
Today I travel the globe spreading a message of hope. Why? Because we know it helps people heal.
There's a huge opportunity as we talk about stories of survival to support people who are out there who are in pain.
I break down on a regular basis. I have symptoms every day. I still have hallucinations with auditory and visual.
Families of those who jumped from the iconic structure urged to stop the suicides.
One person goes to this bridge to die every 7 to 10 days. I think it's our obligation to stop.
You go to Paris, go to New York, you go to Istanbul, there are suicide rates. The more people that know about the horror of that bridge, the more pressure will be put to do something to stop it.
Will this really decrease suicides, you think? They say things like, why do we really need aesthetics? What were the aesthetics compared to one people like?
Kevin Hines, there's no telling how many lives were saved by you because you weren't able to take your own.
Let's get to that place that nobody is being brave and talks about their brain disease. They're just being honest.
My name is Kevin Hines, and this is my story. Hi, guys, how are you? Thank you for all coming out today. I really appreciate it. Before I begin this presentation, there's something we have to do. Right here, right now, and we have to do it together. We have to take a moment of silence for all of those that we have lost to suicide from pain. In my short 36 years on this beautiful planet, I've lost 7 people I love to death by suicide from pain. The common denominator of what takes people this way is that lethal emotional pain. But today is not about the way they died or the day they died. Today is about how they lived before they got sick in the first place. Today is about the beauty that they were and forever will remain right here and right here. And we choose today to celebrate their lives from their birth, the day they were born, brought into this world without that pain. I celebrate the lives of those I've lost to suicide, all 7 of them, on their birthday with family and friends who love them just as much as I do. Because I firmly believe the only way to properly grieve a suicide is together, without blame and with no guilt. It doesn't belong to you. They didn't die because of you. They didn't die in spite of you. They died because of an epic and unrelenting, lethal emotional pain that had nothing to do with you. So I celebrate the lives of those I've lost with family and friends every year on their birthday. And I do it with gluten-free cake and a candle. That's my role. Let's celebrate their lives. Let's honor their memories. And let's have that moment of silence for them right now. You guys, if I talk about the microphone like this, can you hear me okay? All right.
We won't be able to do that, I'm sorry. We're recording a live stream to do from River Falls. We can get the microphone better.
Is there a way to fix that?
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Thank you for that moment of silence. He is ancient yet ageless. He is ticking yet timeless. He runs, not hunted, he chases. He is a man of many faces. He is the darkness. I am the light. I may be cracked, but I will never be broken. I wrote that limerick in 8th grade about the intense duality I felt inside since 4th grade. 4th grade, where I heard voices in my head, not that of my conscience. Voices in my head that I didn't recognize as anybody I knew or loved. And back then they were murmurs. I couldn't understand them. I just knew they were angry and they hated me. Do you think I told anybody? No, I buried it. I silenced my pain. I was in 4th grade. How does a 4th grade kid tell his parents he hears voices that aren't anybody he knows or loves? In his head. He doesn't. And the voices went away. But they came back at 17 and a half years of age, strong, louder than ever, and fully audible and understandable. And they hated me, they loathed me, and they told me I was my family's greatest burden. Auditory hallucinations caused by infant trauma. At 17 and a half years of age, I found myself on a stage at Archbishop Reardon High School on Phelan Avenue in San Francisco, California. I stood on that stage right, which is my left, looking out into a 1,200-person audience. Not one seat was open. That was typical for a Reardon play. I was a theater kid. Any theater kids by chance in this room? 1, thank you. 2, there we go. 3, yes. All right, I'm not alone. I'm just kidding. So I was on that stage right my left, looking out into a 1,200-person audience. I was playing a character called Gatch in a show, How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. Gatch is a philandering businessman, all right? That means he's got a wife at home, but he's messing around with all the secretaries. We all know that guy, all right? And Gatch is he's a jerk. I was upset because my friend said I played him well. Anyway, and I was wearing one of my father's old suits and ties to play Gatch. But let's be clear, Patrick Kevin Hines, as I'm John Kevin Hines, is 6'1". I realize you have no idea I'm not 6'1". You couldn't tell. You couldn't tell because I'm a very tall 5'7". Why are you laughing? I'm 5'7" and a quarter. That's a real thing. I'm a tall person. All right, and I'm on that stage playing that role. And it hits me like a Mack truck barreling down the road at 100 miles an hour. My first severe symptom of that disease they would later say I had bipolar. The very same brain disease both my biological parents had before me as I'm adopted. Genetically predisposed twice. And I stood on that stage believing, looking out into 1,200 people thinking, in a paranoid delusion, my first severe symptom of that disease, bipolar, I began to believe that 1,200 people were there to do one thing, kill me. Psychosis, paranoia. Let's just stop right there, guys. What would you guys do if you thought 1,200 people were coming to kill you? Any answer audibly will do. Any answer. What would you do if you thought 1,200 people? Run. Who said run? Who said that? Run, what's your name?
Hunter.
What?
Hunter.
Hunter. You win the prize, Hunter, okay? Usually at this point I say, there's no prize, but there is one. You get a shirt. Thank you, Hunter. I ran off stage. I ran to the lobby. I was met there by Mr. John Fennell. John Fennell was the theater director. He was a failed actor turned high school thespian director. He had a box haircut from 1987. when he had a mustache from 1962, and somehow it worked for John. And John would be up, and if you did anything other than what John Fennell told you to do on stage, he would take his left thumb, he would place it in the right corner pocket of his mouth, he'd pop it out, making a loud popping sound, and he would say this, Hines, he always called me Hines, Hines, that's the sound of your head coming out of your, anyway, that's what John Fennell would do. He would finish that sentence with me all the time, because I always did stuff he didn't want me to do. He would give me blocking lines, and I would do them backwards. He hated it. Anyway, and John sat in the back of the theater, in the very last seat to the left-hand side. And John, every show he produced, would be drinking himself into oblivion. John had substance use disorder, primary alcoholism. And parents would bring him his favorite bottle of booze, enabling John and not even knowing it. Multiple parents, multiple bottles every show. And John would be the first person that I grew to care and love for, that was like a second father figure to me in my life, that would die by suicide, by his hands. But that, my friends, is an entirely separate story we don't have time for. And I'm on that stage believing that 1,200 people are coming to kill me. I run off stage. John meets me in the theater lobby, and he sits me down in the theater treasurer's chair, which was very fitting, because at the time, I was the theater treasurer. The kid with no conceptual math skills. It was a bad idea, and I blamed John. The books were always wrong. Anyway, and by the way, I was the theater treasurer. I had run unopposed, and I won like a champion. And so John says, Hines, can you please finish the performance? It's not even intermission yet. What are you doing? And I just babbled incoherent nonsense for the next 10 minutes. I couldn't make out 3 words in a row that made sense without stuttering or stammering. That would last months. I could not speak. John called my mom. Deborah Joan Hines came to pick me up. Let's talk about Debbie Hines. Debbie Hines is a consummate optimist. The kind of optimism that's annoying. Mom, it's not that great of a day. Stop smiling and calm down. You know, when I was a 7-year-old kid, right? I'm 7 years old. I come home from grade school crying because I've had a really bad day. Where the 8th graders pick up a 7-year-old, turn him upside down, and place him into a garbage can head first because I wasn't all white. Or they would take me from behind with their arms behind mine and punch me in the gut so nobody saw the bruises. Or they would pull my ears aside and say, whistle, little N-word, whistle. That's what I dealt with every day. And I'd come home crying, and this would be Debbie Hines' reaction. Her hand would be to her hip, and she'd do one of these. Oh, honey. And this works when she does it because she has hair. She'd say, oh, honey. Oh, well. No, Mom, it's a very serious situation. It's not no well. Oh, honey. You know, and then you come home as a 13-year-old, right? Come home as a 13-year-old from Little League Baseball. Who played Little League Baseball? Come on. Show me your hands. There we go. Good stuff. I was the 4th round cleanup hitter. That meant that my job, when the bases were loaded, was to bring home the grand slam and the win. We lose. Who do they blame? They blame me. I come home crying. This is Debbie Hines. Oh, honey. Que sera, sera. Which, if you don't know, is a Spanish song. It means what will be, will be. She used to sing the whole damn song, every lyric, every time there was a problem. Thank you, Mom, for the optimism. It rubbed off. That was my mom, right? And Debbie Hines came to pick me up at Phelan Avenue when my brain broke. And I'll never forget the look in her eyes as she gazed into mine. Because I could see that she could see within mine the depths of insanity brewing behind me. Very soon thereafter, she called and made me an appointment with my first psychiatrist, Dr. J. Kevin Rist. This guy. I think she only picked J. Kevin Rist because his name is J. Kevin. And my name is J. Kevin, which is not how you pick a psychiatrist. They said J. Kevin Rist was one of the best in the field. Everyone said it. His secretary, his apprentice, people we didn't know. Dr. Rist himself would tell me every session. He would do this. Kevin, Kevin. Kevin, Kevin. Isn't that annoying? Let's do it one more time. Kevin, Kevin. I'm one of the best in the field. Yes, doctor, you told me that the last 17 times. You're such a humble man. Jackass. Anyway, Dr. J. Kevin Rist, all right? He was a character like John Fennell. He wore V-neck sweaters that were too bright every day. But it ain't Christmas, turn it down. He wore khaki pleated pants with the cuffs from 1982. Gentlemen, elder gentleman in the room. All right? It's 2018. Flat fronts, please. Thank you. All right? And Dr. Rist, he was trying to help me. Genuinely, he cared, right? He was trying to help me. He would put me on 14 pills a day, which toxified my brain, making me worse, according to better doctors. And it turned out that Dr. J. Kevin Rist, one of the best in the field, was on methamphetamines the entire time he treated me and his other patients. He would lose 7 patients in 1 year to suicide. Now that's not indicative of psychiatry in the field of medicine. Psychiatry in the field of medicine has saved my life for the better part of 20 years. But back then, Dr. Rist was in pain and nobody was dealing with it. And he would end up being the second person I truly grew to care about that would die by his hands, but that's also another story. From 17 and a half years of age to 19, I was on a rocky road, skyrocketing into manic euphoric natural highs, mania with bipolar disorder, the ups. I would skyrocket Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday into a euphoric manic high where I thought I could do things that were impossible, unrealistic, not plausible. As a matter of fact, in a manic delusion of grandeur, I would go around my neighborhood and the surrounding neighborhoods and I would campaign for office. Which office, you ask? Oh, you know, only the presidency of these United States of America at 18. Needless to say, I didn't get on the ballot. And Clinton also beat me. Anyway, and so I would knock on every door, and when people answered the door, I'd say, I'd like to secure your vote, please, with like a clipboard, a notebook, and a pen. And people were like, yeah, vote for what, kid? Wearing one of my father's old suits and ties. At least in high school, when I was in that play, they hemmed it to fit me, not this time. It looked like a goofball. And they would say, kid, vote for what? I'd say the presidency of these United States of America, sign here. But it was ridiculous, ludicrous, preposterous. But I thought it was plausible, most likely, because of my brain. Your brain is the single most powerful organ you wield. It's mostly on automatic mode. It controls every action and inaction you take, every decision and indecision. For lack of a better term, if your brain is malfunctioning, there goes the rest of you. And I was falling apart at the seams. And I began to have paranoid delusions on a daily basis. I began to believe that United States Postal Service workers, you guys know those white trucks with the blue eagles on the side? Just like this gentleman here gets mail, nobody else, that seems awkward. You guys should do something about that. You've all gone green, you all do just emails? No? Okay, well it's commendable. Anyway, and so every time I saw a United States Postal Service truck, I would run in the opposite direction as fast as my legs would take me. I'm fast. I would run myself into a ragged and violent asthma attack. I've had exercise-induced asthma since kindergarten. Plenty of paramedics have taken me to the hospital because of that. All right? Asthma since kindergarten. I'd run myself into a violent asthma attack, somehow make my way back home from the neighborhoods I didn't recognize. I would crawl and hand and knee up the stairs because I could barely breathe. I'd open my closet door and pull out my nebulizer machine. Who knows about those nebulizer machines? All right. And I pull out those nebulizer machine. It sounds like a broken carburetor when you turn it on. I'd cap off liquid medication, pour it inside, put the mask over my face, and do that for 20 minutes until I could breathe again. But how many of you think for one hot second that when my father got home from work at night and said, hey Kev, how was your day? Who thinks I told my father I spent half the day running from the murderous assassinating killer postman? No, I didn't. Because I thought if I tell my father that, he'll think I'm crazy. He'll lock me up in a white-walled padded room and throw away the key. I don't use that word crazy easily. It's too easily and often used for people, places, and things that are not. I say it only to make a point. When I wasn't running from killer postmen, I was having hallucinations now on a daily basis, auditory and visual. Hearing and seeing things nobody else can see or hear. On a nightly basis for some time in my life during this period, I would see death himself hover through my window. As you might imagine him from the movies, with his hood and his cloak, and his sight in his right bony arm. And he'd reach out his other bony hand, turn it upside down, and his eyes would light to fire in his skull face as he would say, come home with me, Monday through Monday. But how many of you think, for 1 minute, that when my father woke up in the morning and said, hey Kev, how'd you sleep? Who here thinks I told my dad, well, you know, I slept all right, Dad, but except for the time I was talking to death. No, I didn't say that. Because I thought if I told my father that, he would think that I was. So I buried it and I silenced my pain. I got really, really good at silencing my pain. Ladies and gentlemen, my new friends, if y'all are going to learn one thing from me today, and one thing alone, may I ask that it be this. When you leave those doors and you go about the rest of your natural lives, Do me a solid. I don't care if you are the toughest person in every room. Never again silence your pain. Your pain is valid. Your pain is important. Your pain is worthy of my time and others and everybody else's in this room. And your pain matters. Simply because all of you do. When we silence our pain, when we bury our struggle, it bubbles and it grows and it bursts in things like rage, aggression, violence, substance use disorder, domestic disputes, suicidal thoughts, ideas, or actions. I wish I knew back then what I know today. I wish I knew back then at that bridge I went to die what I know today, that my thoughts do not have to become my actions. Here, say it with me so you understand. Say it with me. My thoughts do not have to become my actions. Think about it like this. If all of your thoughts became your actions, how many of you would be in jail right now for road rage? Come on, tell me the truth. Come on. All right. If all of your thoughts became your actions, how many of you would be in a world of trouble for a whole host of other things? Come on. Show me the real numbers. There we go. All right. If we can recognize in suicidal crisis that our thoughts do not have to own, rule, or define our next actions, guess what? We can always stay here. I'm speaking from personal experience. I live with chronic thoughts of suicide today. They plague me on a regular basis, but they will never kill me. I'll never again attempt to take my life like I did off that bridge at 19, because now I recognize that every single time my thoughts of suicide come about, I will turn to someone who loves me and I will say 4 simple but effective words. I need help now. I will be vulnerable in the face of my pain. You see, a pain shared is a pain halved. When we bury it, it can kill us. When we speak on it, it's not a weakness, it's a strength to tell your truth. Now, I went to the Golden Gate Bridge at 19, believing I had to die, believing I was useless, worthless, and had no value. All 3 of those things were wrong. You see, my new friends, the insidious inner critical voice we all have, and we all have it. We all have an inner critical voice. It's based upon every negative thing that has ever been said or done to us. You see, when people hurt you with words or actions, you backbrain it. That pocket memory stays in the back of your brain. It never leaves unless you retrain your brain with positive affirmation. I haven't gotten to that point. The insidious inner critical thought and voice, depression, and suicidal ideations are the greatest liars we know. We believe them because we think those thoughts have to define us, but they don't. And I went to the Golden Gate Bridge at 19. I sat on a bus in the very back row in the middle seat, looking out upon what was eventually 100 people. And I began to cry softly, moderately, waterfalls flowing down my face, mucus dripping from my nose, one of those real cries. And I'm sitting there on that bus, hoping, wishing and praying that one person will see me and say something. Hey kid, are you okay? Is something wrong, brother? Can I help you, pal? And I would have told that person everything and begged him to save me. I couldn't tell my father that morning, who tried to help me be with him that day. He was worried about me. But all I could see was death that morning and hear those voices telling me I had to die. So I silenced myself. But at that bus ride, on the way to the bridge, I began to yell aloud at the voices I was hearing in my head on a crowded bus. Leave me alone! I don't want to die. What did I ever do to you? Why do you hate me so much? And if they weren't before 100 people looking down the barrel of the bus at me, would say nothing except for one man. One man says to the fellow next to him, to his left, while pointing at me with his thumb with a smile on his face, what the hell's wrong with that kid? And that, my friends, is what's wrong with some of our society today. Our innate human ability to see somebody, anybody, in the greatest lethal emotional pain they've ever experienced, but feel nothing for them but fear of them and apathy toward them, and that's his or her problem, but it ain't mine. I disagree. And given the service you all are giving to your community every day, I believe you agree with me. If we are nothing else on this beautiful planet, my friends, we are supposed to be one thing together. Our brothers and sisters keepers. Do you agree? Come on, I need to hear you. Do you agree?
Yes.
We're not here for personal betterment or gain. That's why you got in the fields and getting into the fields you're getting into. That's why you want to become nurses. That's why you're in law enforcement. That's why you're paramedics, to give back. That's why you're in criminal justice, because you care. We are here for each other. We're not here to hurt each other with our words or actions. That's what we're not here to do. By a strong, bold, and true raise of hands. Your left hand, actually. How many of you have ever been hurt by someone you know or love's words or actions? Come on. Keep that hand raised. Answer this question. How many of you have ever hurt someone you know or love with your words or actions? Come on. All right, keep your hands raised and hear me now. Look into my brown eyes, all right? I'm going to give you the answer to this next question. The answer is now. The answer is a loud and resounding now. When does the hurting of those we know and love with our words and actions stop? Now. It has to. It has to stop. Every community I go into, I meet high school kids all around the world who are being abused and neglected at home by their parents, by their loved ones, by their aunts and uncles, by whomever. I meet kids who are being verbally abused so bad that they can't even go to school. They hate it. All being hurt by people's words and actions. There's no blame to be laid here. There's no guilt to be had. But if we have an opportunity today to do one thing different than we did yesterday, it's to remember, like my mom, Debbie Hines, taught me from the jump. She taught me, Kevin, be kind and compassionate, loving and caring, non-judgmental and empathetic to every single person you ever come into contact with, no matter their ethnic makeup, who they love or don't, their religious affiliation or none, what they dress like, or their own behavioral actions. Never judge anyone ever, Kevin, she taught me. Because you never know what they've gone through behind closed doors, and you never know what led them to their behavior in the first place. We only hurt other people because we've been hurt. So she taught me how to look into the eyes of people that hurt me and understand them and never judge them. And I think if we did that more often to people around us, we'd be in a much better place. Now at 19 years of age, that bus got to the Golden Gate Bridge parking lot, and 100 people deboarded right there, and I was all alone on that bus, hoping the driver would stop me, but instead he said, "Come on, kid, get off the bus, I gotta go." And I walked up to him, looked him in his eyes, and he motioned for me to get off the bus. And I walked down those 2 steps that felt like 2,000. I walked across that Golden Gate Bridge walkway for 40 minutes crying like a child. And bikers, joggers, tourists, runners, police officers searching for suicidal people went by me twice. They had not been trained in prevention efforts. They are today. They save 52 to 72 lives a year from dying off that bridge. That's a beautiful thing. But I stood at that light rail. That very particular light rail, crying my tears to the waters below. And that is when a woman from my left approached me. Beautiful woman, blonde curly hair, and she had on those sunglasses you ladies love to wear in the heat that don't fit your face. You know who you are. Just so we're clear, you look like giant human bugs. Right? Just something to think about. And she approached me with a smile on her face, and I thought, this is it. I don't have to do this. I don't have to die today. She's going to save me. Then she pulled out a digital camera and said, "Will you take my picture?" I remember thinking to myself, lady, this is terrible timing, but okay. I took her picture and she posed 5 times right in front of me for 5 minutes. She had to really set herself up for each picture. And I used to be angry at this woman. I used to think, like, why didn't she care about me? Why couldn't she see my pain? And then someone informed me recently, Kevin, she did. She was quite literally the only person to interact with you that day in a positive way. She tried to connect with you. She tried to show you something beautiful. You missed it. And I believe that's accurate. And had she not stood where she was for the 5 minutes she did, what happened next wouldn't have saved my life. You see, she took her camera and walked away. But not 20 yards off the bridge. She walked back across the entire 2-mile stretch of roadway. Which is what people did. They spent 90 minutes on that bridge, enamored by its beauty, the 9th wonder of the world, the Golden Gate. And that's when I said to myself, absolutely nobody cares. Was that true? Everybody cared. Every member of my family cared. Every one of my friends cared. My acquaintances would have been there to rip me from that rail to safety because they cared. You guys would have been there to save me because you cared. My brain wasn't allowing me to care. My brain was trying to kill me as I desperately tried to cling to life. She walked away. I said nobody cared. I walked back toward the traffic railing. I sprinted forward and I catapulted myself into free fall using my hands. These two hands. And at the millisecond my hands left that rail and my legs cleared it, there was an instant regret for my actions. And the 100% recognition that I just made the greatest mistake of my life and it was too late. For over 2,000 people at that bridge, it's been too late. 98% of those who've attempted there are gone. They never get to tell their story. All I wanted to do was reach back. And on the way down, in that 220-foot drop, that 25 stories in 4-second fall at 75 miles an hour, these were the words that rang true in my mind. What have I just done? I don't want to die. God, please save me. And then I hit the water. And when you hit that water from that height at that speed, it's like hitting a solid brick wall. You stop for less than a second. The vacuum sucks you under 70 feet beneath the water's surface, and then something unexpected happened. I opened my eyes 70 feet beneath the water's surface. I was alive. I thought you died on impact. I opened my eyes. I was drowning. I started to swim in the wrong direction. I was going down. My eyes began to bulge. My ears began to ring. I shot for the opposite direction, the surface. I swam 70 feet in one breath without the use of my legs. You see, upon impact, I had shattered my T12, L1, and L2 lower vertebrae, splintered into shards like glass. I missed severing my spinal cord that day, ladies and gentlemen, by 2 millimeters. Show me right now a millimeter with your hands. Show me. Come on. I swam 70 feet without the use of my legs. It was the fastest I ever swam in my life. It was all I wanted to do was live. Praying the entire way, God, please save me. I don't want to die. I made a mistake on repeat. Saying to myself, if I die here, nobody will ever know I didn't want to. No one will ever know I knew I made a mistake. I broke the surface. I bobbed up and down in the water, and I prayed, God, please save me. I don't want to die. I made a mistake. And He heard me. In the water, as I flailed to stay afloat, I kept going down. I'd come up, spit out salt water, I'd go down. Every time I went down, I would go down further. I'd come back up one last time, thinking, I'm going to die here. And that's when it happened. Something began to circle beneath me. Something large, very slimy, and very much alive. And I remember thinking to myself, you've got to be kidding me. I didn't die jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge and a shark is going to eat me. I was so pissed off, I tried to punch this thing. I punched it twice, it wouldn't go away. It just circled faster and faster beneath me. No longer was I wading in the water to stay afloat or swimming. I'm lying atop and being kept buoyant by this thing, thinking to myself, this is one hell of a nice shark. What would you do in that situation? I'll tell you what I did. Right then and right there, I named him Herbert. It was either that or Mortimer. All right, I named him, and I wouldn't find out what it was until a year later. I was on a television program with John Quinones. He does a show, What Would You Do? I'm on ABC Primetime with John Quinones. I say on the show, I thought there was a shark beneath me. People write into the show from all over the world. One man's letter sticks out above all the rest. His name is Morgan McWard. He was from Las Vegas, Nevada, and he wrote to me from ABC. He said this, Kevin, I'm so very glad you're alive. I was standing less than 2 feet away from you when you jumped. Until this day, Kevin, no one would tell me whether you lived or died. It's haunted me until right now. By the way, Kevin, there was no shark like you mentioned on the show, but there was a sea lion. And the people above, looking down, believed you to be keeping your body afloat until the Coast Guard boat arrived behind you. Now, my new friends, you call that what you want. That's my miracle. Herbert saved my life. And the Coast Guard boat arrived behind me. And those beautiful Coast Guard officers fished me onto a flatboard, and they stuck me in a neck brace, and they strapped me in from head to toe, and they started asking questions. The first guy puts his hand on my forehead and says, Kid, you're a miracle. The second guy looks at me and goes, Kid, do you understand how many people we pull out of these waters that are already gone? I said, no, sir, and I don't want to know. He said, I'm going to tell you anyway. He said, this unit, young man, has pulled out 57 dead bodies from these waters. And one live one. Right? They call that perspective. The ambulance got me to the hospital. At the hospital, another miracle occurred. As I was entering the emergency wing, one of the foremost back surgeons on the West Coast was leaving. He opted to stay to do my surgery. The first and only of its particular kind. It's in the medical journal. He went in through my left side. I have a 23 staple scar from here to here. I know how many staples. I pulled them out as part of my healing myself because I asked to. They went into my side, they took out my organs and put them on my belly. They had the scalpel inside me and they went to work. In the first 10 minutes of surgery, I had a violent asthma attack with the scalpel inside me. He maneuvered his way out without hurting me more, put me deeper under, and went back to work with his team. 10.5 hours later, they refitted my back with a cylindrical titanium cage of mesh wiring, 4 pins the size of my index finger, a metal plate the size of my palm on my left side, all titanium. The singular reason I get the distinct honor and privilege to stand, walk, and run today. And that's a gift. I've been given a second chance at life. And I'm not going to squander it eating potato chips, playing Metal Gear Solid. And I'm going to do that, just not all the time. Right? And it wasn't easy, the recovery. I went from a wheelchair to a walker and a back brace to a back brace and a cane, and then right into my first psych ward, because you can't just go home after that. 7 psychiatric hospital stays in the next 11 years for suicidal crisis. The first psych ward stay, the second psych ward stay, and the third psych ward stay were involuntary psych ward stays, forced in against my will. It was really difficult. I was assaulted in a couple of them. I was placed in a straitjacket when it was illegal in California and placed in a white-walled padded room, which they think is supposed to make you feel better, restricted, you can't move, it makes you crazy. And I'm not crazy. My name is Kevin Hines. In the second psych ward stay, there was a woman named, I think her name was Rebecca, and she'd like do this sidestep thing up to you, you know? You wouldn't know she was next to you. She'd sidestep you from behind. You wouldn't know she was there, and she'd scream, "The Dominicans are going to rape us all!" And you'd freak out and jump out of your chair or your skin, and you'd like, "Rebecca, can you calm down and let me know you're behind me next time?" You know, in the second psych ward stay, I also stopped a rape of a patient from happening by one of the other patients. It was devastating. I was in the hallway at night. There were no security guards. And one of the young ladies in the ward runs into the hallway and goes, "Help us! Help us!" I followed her. I ran next to her. She shows me the room. And one of the patients is forcing himself on a young lady. And I got in between them, and I pulled him off of her. And he cocked back, and he goes to hit me. I never moved so fast in my life blocking that punch. But he was much bigger than I was. And he had PTSD. He was really in a lot of pain. He was an ex-firefighter. And he kept going for me. He kept lunging at me. I kept blocking him. Finally, 2 security guards show up minutes later. And that young lady was safe that day. But these things are terrifying and stressful and painful. I didn't need to go through them. It was part of my journey. In the third psych ward stay of 7 and 11 years, all for suicidal crisis, I had my epiphany and my gift. The epiphany came in the form of my Uncle George on my mom's side. Uncle George was my favorite uncle on my mom's side. Uncle George was a portly fellow, big belly around this area, all right? And he walked like this, kind of like a broken penguin. He wasn't a penguin enthusiast, he just had sciatica in both knees and it was very painful. Uncle George would drive 6 hours away from Arnold, California to every psych ward stay to see me. That's love, right? Uncle George would drive 6 hours away to make fun of me in front of his friends for an hour, also love. And this time in the third psych ward stay, he wasn't laughing, he wasn't joking, he was pissed. He looks at me and he goes, "Kevin, your family can help you until we're blue in the face. Until and when you take 100% responsibility for the fact that you have this disease and you fight it tooth and nail every day, kid, ain't nothing going to change. You'll be in and out of these places for the rest of your life. Is that what you want?" I said, "No, Uncle George." He said, "We'll get it together. We're counting on you." He dropped a Time magazine article he had rolled up in his hand on the table like a mic drop, and he got up out of the psych ward and walked out the door. As he was walking out the door, he passed a 67-year-old Spanish woman named Gloria. Gloria was arguably going to be in there for the rest of her life. There was no getting Gloria back from the brink of her insanity. He said, Kevin, you want to be like this? I said, no, Uncle George. He said, well, get it together, kid. We're counting on you. And he left. I remember looking out and going, you're not my favorite uncle anymore. He was already gone. I picked up the magazine, a Time magazine article, 2004, on how to fight bipolar disorder, depression, and mental illness with routine and regimen and win. I put those words into action in that hospital. I went to the nursing station after reading that article through and through. I said, hey guys, can I use your gym? They said, what? I said, can I use your gym facility? They said, son, this is a psych ward. I said, every psych ward should have a gym, 23 minutes of rigorous exercise, these are 12 hours of better mood. It's in the magazine. They said, son, this is a psych ward, once again. I went to the nursing station after starting to work out every day in my room because I remembered something. You see, in that psych ward, that third psych ward stay, I was near diabetic, well overweight. All right, I was really not well, and I went to the nursing psych ward station, and I realized if they can't give me a gym facility, I'm gonna put my body to the ground because I'm physically capable, and I'm gonna get to work like I did in high school wrestling as a varsity wrestler and a champion. And so I put my body to the ground, and I got to work, and I started slowly losing the weight. I went to the nursing station. I asked for a nutritionist. They said, we got you covered. They brought the nutritionist in. She read my food log, and this is what she told me. She said, Kevin, you should probably stop eating 4 fatty meals per 1 meal a day. I said, that is sound advice. So I started eating healthier, non-inflammatory foods in the psych ward. I started feeling better. I started losing the weight. I had a 6-inch beard jutting off my face. I shaved it. I had an afro on my head. I shaved that too, never quite grew it back. I had a red hair. It was like they called me fire fro. I didn't appreciate it. And I'm in that psych ward, and I'm an insomniac. So I go to the nursing station. I go, listen, I need to sleep better for my mental health. Sleeping is key to your brain health. I said, what can you do for me? They said, we can give you pills. I said, no. I'm taking all these pills finally with 100% accuracy at the same time every day without fail. You got me on those. Give me something natural for my sleep. Jane, the New Zealand nurse, comes back a day later. She had freckles and red hair just like me. Jane comes back and she goes, I got you covered. She gives me a CD player from Walgreens. Who remembers those? Not Walgreens, there are plenty of those. CD players. All right? CD player from Walgreens. She gives me 3 CDs. Whale, Ocean, Rainforest Noises. Music therapy proven to alter brainwaves and brain patterns to help sleep function. I thought it was nonsense. Within 3 weeks I was sleeping again. So I'm sleeping. I'm eating healthily, I'm exercising every day. My Uncle Kevin on my dad's side, my favorite uncle on my dad's side, my great uncle, Kevin Joseph Ryan, the patriarch of our family, may he rest in peace. Uncle Kevin was 30 years drunk and 30 years sober. I would go to his last 10 chips in the last 10 years of his life. And that's where I would learn to tell stories as a kid in AA. And Uncle Kevin would bring me a book every day on bipolar disorder, or a publication on bipolar disorder. I would educate myself to the disease they say I had to the 10th degree. I would read every publication that would come out on the topic so I knew how to fight it and beat it and win. And so he brought me the book, Loving Someone with Bipolar Disorder by Julie A. Bass, and Bipolar for Dummies. That one was the best. They were stick figures. All right? Hey, there's a dummies book for every mental illness. Get yours. We all have issues. All right? And I'm in that psych ward, and the gift occurs. This kid comes in on a gurney. He's catatonic. He can't move and he can't talk. All right? Methamphetamine is another drug. Substance use disorder followed me my whole life. And this kid comes in on a gurney. He's 19. He's been doing illicit drugs since he was 13. He's really in a bad way. Every single day they would bring him to the cafeteria. He wouldn't move. He wouldn't talk. They'd feed him his food. You think he ate it? He just sat there for an hour. They'd take the tray away full. It made me angry. I tried to feed him. It wasn't that easy. I got the plate of the nurses. Then I realized something. I got to help this kid come out of his catatonia. I've got to elicit a response. So I tell him stories every day. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I tell the kid stories. Finally, one day he starts to move and he goes like this. 2 weeks in, he goes, geez, man, you talk too much. Leave me alone. And I jumped up and I did this because I can and it's awesome. And people were clapping in the background. I mean, if I'm being honest with you guys, it was just the lady that was always clapping, but she meant it for me. I can tell. I mean, this lady was like, all day long, yeah. All right. Well, you see, this kid was special. Every day without fail, during visiting hours, 15 to 22 people would come to see this kid every single day. Nobody comes to see you at a psych ward. This kid had an entourage. When he wasn't catatonic, they would put their hands on the wire glass of his family. he would put his hands on the other side. It was a beautiful thing. It was a Spanish-Filipino-American family, and they had his kids back on lockdown. It didn't matter if he was like some serial murderer. They would have been there like, we love you, you're amazing. You know, that was the family they were. They didn't care. And in the psych ward, one day, I'm getting kind of tired of all the therapy, you know? I'm doing 10 forms of therapy. So I go to the nurse's station. I find my case manager, Janet, from Brooklyn. I say, Janet, give me a job. She says, what now? I said, Janet, you got me in here doing 10 forms of therapy. Give me 5 forms of therapy and give me something productive to do. She goes, you want to volunteer for the psych ward you're staying in? I said, yes. She said, no, that's highly unethical and probably illegal, Kevin. That's not going to happen. I said, well, can I have a hug? She said, what? I said, Janet, 23-second hugs with these oxytocin and the brain that make you feel better. It's in the magazine. She said, get away from me. But the next day, the new case manager came in because Janet went on vacation. Bye, Janet, good riddance. The new case manager comes in. This lady was from 1960 San Francisco. She was a certified hippie. All right? She had salt and pepper hair out to here. It was curly fried. She had a lay of flowers around her neck every day that she hand-picked and made from her garden that morning. A flower in her right ear, and she wore tie-dye shirts every day that she claimed was different. It was the same damn shirt. And I go to her, and I got like putty in my hands and go, give me a job. She goes, what? You want to volunteer for us? I said, yes. She said, that sounds like a lovely idea. What can we have you do? And they should have never left this lady alone at the nurse's psych ward station. She was dangerous. She walks back, and she grabs a giant green binder amongst 22 other giant green binders on a shelf. And she goes, I know, you can file these. I said, what are they? And she says, well, you know, patient binders. I know you guys have heard of HIPAA privacy laws. You can't do that, that's illegal. HIPAA privacy laws are very serious. You gotta say it like that, with like fervor, like HIPAA privacy laws. Very serious. And so, she says, just do it alphabetically. Don't look at the details. So I did it alphabetically, and you guys know me by now. I did not look at most of those details. You heard me most. And so I finished that job, and I get my next job. Clean out the giveaway clothes closet. When you leave the hospital, you got something to wear. All right? So everyone in there is wearing hospital gowns, hospital pants, hospital slippers with grips on the bottom. Not me. I go into the giveaway clothes closet. I box, bin, and label everything. And what do I do next? I realize all the men's stuff fits me. So, what would you do in this situation? I'll tell you what I did. I came out of the closet. You heard me. I came out of the closet with a round thread, double-breasted polo suit, and 70s yellow flag collar like some kind of gangster who owned the place. I walked into the nurse's station, I grabbed a notebook, clipboard, and pen, and I started doing the official documents of the hospital. The new hospital documentee, I gave myself my next job. Leonardo, the Ninja Turtle, was looking solid. And that's what happened. In walks pragmatic, pessimistic, stone-faced Pat Hines, my father. I didn't tell you about Pat Hines. I told you about Debbie. But Pat Hines, oh, good Lord. This man, he had a rough childhood, all right? Lack of a childhood. Some of you might know what that's about. His father abused him, beat him up all the time. His father had substance use disorder, primary alcoholism. And my father grew up a bruiser. He grew up playing 20 years of hockey as the goalie with no mask. I thought that was a bad idea. That was my dad. You know, he was a tough SOB. Never hit me once, but he yelled a lot. He was hard on me. He was like the drill sergeant who was never in the military, but his father, Mickey Kurgan, was in the Battle of Okinawa, in the real dirt. And he came home a changed man. And Patrick Hines, he walks in that psych ward in a suit. And his son's in a suit in a psych ward. But he's a businessman and I'm a total fraud. And he walks into the nurse, he has no peripheral vision, he shouldn't be driving. Somebody else telling him he doesn't listen to me. And he looks at this lady, the nurse, and he goes, excuse me, I'd like to see my son, Kevin, please. And this lady goes like this. And points at me. And he looks at me and does a double take like this. And he says one of his favorite mantras. Kevin, what the hell are you doing? And I'm over here like, Dad, I work here now. And he's over here and he goes, what? Like Little John the Rapper. If you don't know who that is, Google or YouTube, LIL''Jon. Listen to that guy say what once. My dad did it twice. What? And he looks at this lady and he goes, get me the manager. And this lady, her name was Marcia, and she was the manager. And she looks at me and she goes, sir, this is not a hotel. Get me the head nurse now. And it was her, and she was tougher than he was, and she wasn't having it. They're fighting tooth and nail. I go, that's it. No more Pat Hines. I I didn't think they would forcibly remove my father with security guard, which they did. He wasn't too pleased. You don't force him to remove. Pat Hines is a third-degree black belt in judo. He went quietly not to make a larger scene. So he left. He was all pissed off. I hurt his feelings. Don't worry about it. We laugh about it today. When I say we, I laugh about it. Really stares at me angrily. Anyway, the next day I go to the nurse's station with my khaki cargo shorts, my pink polo shirt, and my sandals from the giveaway clothes closet, brand new out of the box that fit me. And I go up there, and Leonardo the Ninja Turtle is finished. And I pick up the PA system microphone, which was one of those big microphones you see in a fight, like when in the middle of the ring. And I pick it up and I make the afternoon visiting hour announcements, and I rhyme them because it's more efficient. And that is when I get a tap on my left shoulder and I turn around. And there she was. Her name was Margaret. Her eyes were almond brown, sexy and cool, and I was done. I never knew anything more in my entire life, but I knew I was going to marry her. I quickly said to myself, Kevin, whatever you do, don't tell her that yet. That would be awkward. And she looks at me in front of the entire staff and she goes, excuse me, do you work here? Just like she had sass, that's what I liked about her. And I looked at the nurse's station staff and they looked at me like, what is this little turd going to say? And I looked at them with my eyes, and I said, you best be quiet or we will all have a conversation about those binders. Hippopotamus laws, everybody! And they understood. And I said, as a matter of fact, miss, I'm a volunteer. They couldn't do nothing about that. I'd worked too hard. And that's when she said, I'm looking for my cousin. His name is. This was her first time seeing that kid. She hadn't been all those times the other family members had. I said, madam, right this way. I put my hand on the small of her back and her elbow, and I glided her there like this. Which she later told me was just plain creepy with a capital K. Anyway, I get her to the room and the kid sees me. I duck out into the hallway. He hates me. I talk too much. I hear her say, your nursing staff is so nice. And that's when he says, that guy is a nutball. That guy jumps off bridges. Don't talk to that guy. And I ran in there and I said, excuse me, it was one. It was one bridge, plural. That's ridiculous. She comes out of the room and she goes, why'd you lie to me? I said, Margaret, I didn't lie to you. I am a volunteer at this very hospital. I just happen to also live here. Anyway, the kid's about to get out of the hospital. Margaret comes in one last day. I stop her short at the door. I said, Margaret, when I get out of here, can I take you to coffee? And she looks at me. And she goes, oh, honey, hell no. But you know what? Persistence is the key. Love, mental health, and psych wards. And so, I get out of the psych ward. I go to my halfway home for the mentally ill. Public housing. None of my family or friends would take me back. They needed me to get well on my own, and I got it. I empathize with them. And I'm getting well on my own. I go to a halfway home for the mentally ill, living off $3 a day. All right? Social Security takes the rest of my money. I live off $3 a day. They could give me a Tully's coffee or half a bagel at Noah's if Pete was nice to me. And so I'm doing that. I'm getting it done. I'm doing my program. I'm in there for 30 days probationary period. You follow the rules to a T or they'll kick you out so fast your head will spin. So I'm following the rules. I'm following the program. I get my first weekend off. Who do I call? I got Margaret. That's right. So I called Margaret. All right, damn right I called Margaret. I stole her number from her cousin's phone. All right? I worked there. Shoot. There were no passcodes with your thumb or I-codes. I just got in there. I got that number and I got out. And I called Margaret on a Friday. This is the conversation we had. Margaret, it's Kevin. Kevin? Kevin Hines. I don't know. From the psych ward? Hi, Kevin, how are you? It's good to, Kevin, how did you get this phone number? You know, Margaret, that's unimportant. Anyway, I'd like to take you to dinner. It's Friday. Oh, Kevin, I don't, you know, she was so thrilled she couldn't find the words. I said, Margaret, I need this. I need one date. If it goes south, you never have to see me again. She goes, okay. But I made a mistake, ladies. I showed up at Margaret's apartment with a giant ski duffel bag of lots of my things. Don't judge yet. And she goes, what is that? I said, Margaret, it's a funny story. When you leave the halfway home on a Friday, it's Friday, and you go out past 9 p.m., you made reservations at 9. Here's the thing, you kind of can't go back to the halfway home until Monday. She goes, "Oh, hell no!" I said, "Margaret, I'll take this bag of land. There's a pillow across the street on those stairs, and I'm going to sleep over there tonight. We got to go on this date. I came all this way." She goes, "Oh, God, fine." We go to this Italian restaurant, Cafe Sport in San Francisco. You don't order at Cafe Sport. They look at you, they judge you, and they order for you. You best not have allergies. Lots of allergies. And so I go there, and they order Margaret an eggplant parmesan deal. Fits on the table. The table is the size of the seats of your chairs, right? Everyone's elbow to elbow. You can hear everybody's conversation verbatim. And I'm sitting there, and they order me. This guy doesn't like me. He ordered me the most expensive thing on the menu. I live off of $3 a day. I couldn't afford the meal to begin with. And he gets me a mound of spaghetti, a huge pound of spaghetti sauce, an uncracked lobster, a votive in a candle, a plate of boiling butter on top of it, and an oddly cut lemon wedge like on purpose. And I'm freaking out because I'm wearing my only good white shirt. I bought it at Old Navy on sale on the clearance rack for $5. I live on $3 a day. That's a 2-day shirt. I'm freaking out that I'm going to get messed up. I look at myself, I look at my plate, I look at Margaret, and I give myself my positive affirmations. Kevin, I believe in you. Kevin, you can do this. Kevin, go. I take the cracker, I place it on the tail, crack, marinara sauce all over my only good white shirt. It wasn't like a drop you could get out with water. It was like Captain America's shield on the shirt. I'm freaking out. She thinks I'm a slob in the first 5 minutes getting my food, but then my brain reacts. Kevin, do something classy now. What does that mean, Kevin? I don't know, figure it out. I had inner dialogue. And I was like, so I go and I take the lemon wedge. I pick it up. I start to shake as I look at Margaret's beautiful almond, sexy, cool eyes. And I go like this. My plate is over here. I squoze that lemon harder than lemon has ever been squozed. That is a real word. Do not look it up right now. And I watched the stream of lemon juice flies directly in to Margaret's left eye. It was like a fire hose. It just kept going. I scared her running down her face. She looks at the band, kisses the film, the crow. I'm freaking out, and then my brain does it again. Kevin, do something classier. Now, it didn't work the first time, man. Figure it out, buddy. And I go for the plate of boiling butter. Yes, it gets worse. I tip the plate. I watch 2 droplets of boiling butter fly across that stupid, dumb, tiny table at that ridiculous restaurant you don't order at, and then it goes right between her blouse onto her chest, and it burns her. She screams bloody murder. The restaurant stops cold. But I'm a gentleman. I grab my napkin, and I reach over. Yeah, guess who's doing this on the first date? Margaret looks down and she goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "Margaret, I have no idea what I'm doing." She goes, "Get off of me." Margaret, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And then she says the only 2 words on the first date you never want to hear in the first 10 minutes when you have not eaten your food. "Check, please." She walks a mile in front of me back to the apartment. We get back to the apartment. She looks at me, she looks at the bag in the hallway, and she goes, "We're going to the roof." Are you going to throw me off? No, Kevin. No, Kevin, get in the elevator. Ricky, old 1920s elevator, we go to the roof. 2 yoga mats in a garden, a box garden. We lay down, awkward silence. I said, "Margaret, what are we doing here?" She goes, "Kevin, if all we do right now is stare at that full moon, ain't nothing else can go wrong." Champion of dating, right? So I waited a long time to tell Margaret how I felt about her. A long time for me. I couldn't wait to tell her how I felt about her. So on our second date, we're in the car. She's driving at 10 and 2 like this. We're going to go see Mos Def in concert. He didn't show up, by the way. Anyway, point of reference, in case you ever go to see him, he might not show up. So we're driving, and she's at the wheel, and I'm bursting at the seams on our second date. I go, "Margaret, I have to tell you something. It's crucial. Like, I have to tell you right." "Yes, Kevin, what is it?" "Calm down, I'm driving." "No, really." "So, Kevin, just go. Tell me. What's on your mind?" I said, "Margaret, I love you." He goes like this. Thank you. Nonetheless, my new friends, we're 11 years married and 14 years together. She's the love of my life, my very best friend, and my rock, and she keeps me alive when I can't keep myself safe from suicide. She is my everything, and I don't tell you my love life to brag about it. I tell you this story because it's my favorite story, and I tell you this story because it just goes to show you one heck of a journey from hell to hope, and if we can find hope in the darkest of our hours, we can find purpose, and if we can find purpose, we can always stay here. I want to tell you one more story about my 5th psych ward stay. You see, those first 3 were involuntary, forced in against my will. But in that 5th psych ward stay, that 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th psych ward stay, I walked into those hospital emergency rooms with someone behind me who loved me, and I said, I need to be here or I won't be here. I was finally self-aware with my disease. In that 5th psych ward stay, though, it was a rough one. I was outside of my clinic, at a cafe across from my clinic, my mental health clinic, and I was writing my chronic paranoid delusions into a journal. I was so unwell, and I was writing all kinds of terrifying things in this journal. I thought so many people were trying to kill me. I thought my wife wanted me dead. I thought my father was trying to murder me. I thought houses were coming alive and trying to eat me. I was so psychotic. And I'm writing in this journal, my chronic suicidal crazy thoughts. And I look at it, and I reread it, and I was like, oh man, this is not right. I need help. I need help again. I have to go back to the ward. And I called the 2 people in my life I knew would have my back within minutes. 2 tall John Davies and Zen Master Joe Hurlison. They all played football with me, and they were the toughest SOBs I knew besides my father and Kevin Joseph Ryan. If you were in a dark alley, you wanted these guys right next to you. They were each 6'4", and I'm not. Anyway. And they showed up one by one within minutes of me calling them. And I slid the chronic crazy thoughts to them. They read it, and they said, Kevin, you need to go to your clinic right now, and you need to go into the psych ward. You're suicidal again. And I said, no, I just don't want to go back in there. I'm so tired of failing at my brain health every time and going back there. I hate this. And they walked me outside. Everybody was in the cafe. I knew them all by first and last name. I'd gone there for 10 years. And they said, Kevin, here's the deal. We're not going to force you over there. You're going to walk across the street, you're going to go into that clinic, and you're going to go get help, or we're going to make you. And I knew they could. So, the light turns green. I walk halfway across the street, and I'm about to run and get out of there. And they looked at me, and I just knew, no, they're faster than me. So I went into the clinic, and I go to the nurse's station, and I just started crying. And they knew it. They said, oh, hold on, Kevin. They got my therapist and my psychiatrist. They brought me inside of the room, and they said, Kevin, tell us what's going on. I said, if you don't admit me right now, I'm going to die on my hands. So the next thing I knew, 2 police officers in their unit car pulled up, and they came inside. They asked me to stand. They asked me to put my hands in front of my body, and they handcuffed them tight, and they brought me outside after patting me down and asked me if I had anything sharp in my pockets. And they placed me on the hood of the car, and they asked me to get inside the car. I did. And then we start driving to the emergency psych unit. And I'm crying my eyes out because everyone in that cafe thinks that I'm some kind of criminal. They look like they've just arrested me for a crime. And it was probably the most embarrassing moment of my life. And I'm in that car, and one of the officers turns around, the rookie. He's on the passenger side. And he goes, hey, you look familiar. He says, where have I seen you before? And I said, I do all your rookie trainings for suicide prevention and mental health awareness. And he goes, yeah, you do. He goes, good to see you. And the senior officer who's driving goes, hey, how are we doing? I said, you guys are actually being very kind to me, and I appreciate it. He goes, good. We were listening to your training. And I was like, thanks, man. So we get to the emergency psych unit station, and these officers, they could have left me there in a heartbeat. They had many calls come in on their radios. They could have left me there in a heartbeat, but they didn't. I'm sitting there in the intake unit, shaking and crying like a leaf. And one of them puts his hand on my right shoulder, and one of them puts his hand on my left shoulder. And they had my back in force. And they said, kid, we're not leaving until you get fully intaked into the unit, and we got you. And it was probably one of the most kind things 2 officers have ever done for me in a moment of crisis. Because I've been in places where I've been violent, and I've punched holes in drywalls, and it didn't go as well. And these officers cared enough to look at me as a human being and not as a patient. And that was the greatest thing they could have done for me that day. And it made me see from their viewpoint and appreciate their efforts. And when they looked at me as a human being and not some kind of crazy person, when they called me by my name and they cared for me and they showed me their empathy, that's what helped me get through that day and get through that entire cycle and stay. So you guys, ending this presentation right here, I am grateful for what you're all working to do. I'm grateful for what you are all doing. I'm grateful for your efforts to help people like me. And when you see someone who's unwell mentally and you have to engage with them, please think of me and how you could absolutely be the transformative effect in their life. My new friends, yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That is why we call it the present. If y'all don't believe me, Master Oogway from Kung Fu Panda said that, and talking turtles always know what's up. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. Today is our gift. Let us always and forever cherish this day and every waking moment of this gorgeous gift we all get to call life. From the bottom of my heart, thank you very much. All right, my friends, stay standing for just a moment. Stay standing. We started together with the moment of silence. We're going to end together. If you have a mobile device in your pockets, take it out right now. Go live on any social media right now. You're not going to want to miss this. This is going to be epic. Or go to your record button on your camera and press record. I'm going to do it right now, okay? This is the most crucial moment of this presentation. This is what today is all about. Right now, I'm going to go live on mine. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, right now we are going to do something for all the people in this very room in that kind of pain. All the people watching at home in that kind of pain. Mental brain pain. We are going to say at the tops of our lungs, like our lives depend on it. Be here tomorrow on my 3 count. Be here tomorrow like their lives depend on it. 1, 2, 3. Be here tomorrow. Alright, that was good, guys. We need to be louder and prouder, like their lives depend on it. 1, 2, 3. Be here tomorrow. Alright, that was great. We need to be louder than the United States Marines and the U.S. Army soldiers that did it 4 weeks ago. There were 4,000 of them, louder than 4,000 Marines and Army soldiers. 1, 2, 3. Be here tomorrow. Damn right. Be here tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. And every single day after that. You are worthy, you are intended to be here until your natural end, and you are important to all of us. Suicide should never be the solution to your problem. It is the problem. Please, find a way to be here tomorrow and stay. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate your time. Thank you.